for Damadrini, or no? Okay, then we're just gonna fly without supports. This site is trying to open Zoom meeting, but it's already open. We'll see what happens. Maybe there end up being two of me in the meeting. All right, well, it's either recording or it's not. And that is good enough. So I'll go back just a little bit. I'm Ayya Niyyanika. I trained at Damadrini up until 2019 and became an independent bhikkhuni and visited other monasteries, stayed in some communities, traveled. And now I'm up in Olympia with Ayya Suvijana, who's also trained at Damadrini. And today we have the good fortune that I have a cold, and so I feel sick. And I say that as a good fortune because I am guessing, please anyone raise their virtual or real hand if you've never been sick, if you've never had a cold. Okay, so everyone on this call has at some point in their life been sick, at some point in their life has had a cold. And I asked the question earlier when there were just a few of us on, so is that the time not to meditate? Or is that the time to be curious about what a meditation is like when you have a cold or when you are sick? And I was just talking a little bit about this morning, coughing, and then getting curious about, okay, I'm not sleeping, so I might as well meditate, and getting curious about what was actually happening and was I needing to cough, and with the experience of feeling like there's, and there actually being fluid, in the bronchial or whatever. I'm not medical, so I don't know exactly what's going on, but that sensation of drowning, and questioning, am I really drowning and I need to cough? And realizing, no, I'm not passing out, there's enough oxygen here. And being really curious about the clues that were going on in the body and where there was a constriction around it rather than being with, oh, okay, it feels like this. So I imagine most of us try to come to meditation with, we're going to go to a quiet place. Yeah, well, sometimes we are the cause of lack of quietude, and maybe it's a physical thing, or maybe it's just the mental. So today we'll practice a little bit. I'll do some guided meditation with peacefulness with this. Peacefulness with when we're in a period of feeling unwell, where the body is in pain, or it's creaky, or it's making that sound of the mucus clinging and then releasing and clinging and releasing. It can be fascinating. Not like I need to figure it out, but just like to be with the sound of the body, and the impermanence of the sensations and the sounds and the textures and all of it. So, if anyone else out there has the good fortune of being a little sick today, having aches, pains, tightness, headaches, sore throats, any of that, yay, we can do this together. Otherwise, you can just borrow the sensations of my body as you can hear the voice. So take a posture that's able to hold what is for now. And be willing during the meditation to mindfully adjust. If you find there's a constriction or it's like being with and then being kind and making the adjustments in a kind way. So feeling the sensations of the body with a curiosity. Maybe starting with a full body scan, just touching in. What does it feel like in the legs and feet? Is there any little adjustment you might make? I'm noticing that I've got one leg over the other, and I'm actually going to extend one of my legs a little bit to take the pressure out of the knee. And I'm doing it with a kind, slow, mindful, not a pushing away, just a, oh, I care about this time. And then maybe going up into the hips, the pelvic floor, that whole bowl of the pelvis. And any little, maybe you're leaning a little to one side or another, front or back. Explore just tiny movement that maybe releases, like my waistband is a little bit pinched there. Just a small adjustment. And even if today we spend the whole time just setting up for meditation with a kind mindfulness, it's time well spent. Moving up into the full torso and the back. The back is feeling actually pretty okay right now. I've had some spine issues, and there's that ache, there's that pinch, but it's not needing an adjustment. But if yours is, give it a little kind shift. And what you can't adjust, can you just say, yes, it's like this. There's this ache, this little pinch. This is a body. This is what a body feels like right now. And maybe send the breath. I know it doesn't actually go into the low back or wherever. But maybe like as if the breath is reaching into whatever is pinched or tight. Just welcoming any softening that might happen and accepting whatever does happen. And as I relay what's going on in my body, you can either just use that as your mirror or explore whatever those points are in yours. So the lungs do fill with air as we breathe. And if you have a cold like me, it might be a little pinched. Or maybe it's better than it was a little while ago and you feel a little more freedom. Just accepting. The chest moving with the breath feels like this right now. And then the arms and the hands. any little adjustments that you might want to make, feel free to make them. And then let them soften as they rest in your lap or on a chair, wherever you've got them placed. There's no work for them to be doing right now. The throat, the neck, welcoming the sensations that are there. Noticing if there's any constriction that's not necessary, just added extra. And welcome that to soften and be left with just the scritchiness or a little pinch or maybe ease, complete ease, whatever's present for you. The face, forehead, around the eyes, mouth. Curious if there's any softening that might happen. Awareness gives us this wonderful clue. Oh, I'm holding. Maybe it's not necessary. In the inside cavities of the nose, around the eyeballs, in the ears, back of the throat. These are just sensations. Allowing the sensations to be there and to soften around the sensations. Perhaps they change. I can feel a slight headache band. And if I bring my attention to it, I'm more aware of it. And there's a natural reflex to squeeze a little. And that's where I invite the breath to just move through. Allow the body to have the pinch points or the tightness. Not fight against it. I'm aware that before this meditation I was coughing quite a lot, and now I'm not coughing at all. The throat and chest are just a little looser and softer. And as the tickle comes in the throat, I let it be a tickle. If it creates a cough, it creates a cough. I don't suppress it. I just accept these are the sensations right now. My whole body feels more relaxed. this is with practice. Sometimes early on it would be more intense, and then I would get to be with that. Oh, my attention highlights. This is what it feels like to have a cold or a backache, a twisted knee, whatever it is, a bellyache. Even a hangnail can be an amazing thing during meditation. So I'm going to be silent now and allow us to be just with the sensations as they arise. The sounds around us, the sounds inside us, whatever that means, however we experience it. And when you hear my voice again, unless it's coughing in the middle, it will be to just bring your attention back. So don't pay attention to it if you're already with your wonderful body being a teacher right now. Being with the changes, the sounds, can you let the sharp sound of a cough just pass through? And if you're feeling a sensation, a tickle, can you be with the gently arising sensations? And then being kind. And not being self-conscious. Just with being in a body, doing what bodies do. just going to mute myself for a few minutes to allow you a little more silence, knowing that this is a practice. And when we're on retreat in community, we don't have this luxury. But that it's nice to have some silence to build up our strength and capacities. Through the sensations of the body, you can also open the heart, apply metta to the conditions that are right here, right now. So if you wish, these last 10 minutes or so of meditation, turn towards a metta practice. A warm, accepting heart, directing it toward the body. Directing it toward the sensations as they are. Directing it toward the mind. The mind that may have some constriction around the sensations of the body. I say to myself, sweetheart, of course. Of course you're feeling like this. So we'll continue in silence, warm-hearted toward whatever's arising. as we draw toward the close of the meditation time, the formal meditation time, do you notice any change in the level of your peacefulness? Do you notice any shift in your capacity to be with things as they are? And just note that so that it can help as you go through your day and as you do meditations in the future. What was helpful? What was not? And reflecting back over this last time, do you notice when it was harder to be peaceful? Maybe when there's loud coughing going on? And notice if you had some capacity to soften it, or if that's something that we're all still developing. And notice the value of silence. Ding. So, welcome. I know some of you joined during the meditation, and you probably noticed it was a little bit different than your standard meditation, that I was talking about the qualities of a body that's not, feeling well, and how to be with that, and what is the generation of our peacefulness? So I'm curious how this exploration lands for you, and if you have any meditation questions. Oh, I'll also say I'm Ayya Niyyanika. I trained at Dhammadharini up until 2019, and then stayed with and visited other communities around the world, and also in California. And now I'm up in Olympia with Ayya Niyyanika, who also trained at Dhammadharini, starting Pasade Vihara. And I'm happy to answer questions about that at another time. Right now, let's see if we can talk about meditation. Go ahead and raise your hand or unmute. I think you're allowed to unmute. Or you can put something in the chat as well. It looks to me like there are some, yeah. So I see. Let me, Sevi, it looks like you're speaking, so I'm going to try to see. No, you're not. Okay. All right. There is a button here that says "Ask to unmute" for the participants. So, would somebody be willing to just try to unmute and see?
I'm unmuted right now. I have a really hard time hearing you. I have to get really close and my volume's all the way up. So I don't know if it's just my ears or if anyone else is having the issue.
All right. It might also be my voice at this time.
You're much better now. When you went closer to the screen, it was much.
All right. The screen,
yeah, that's perfect.
Come closer to me. There we go. All right.
Thank you.
Well, that's wonderful. Then maybe you got more silence during the meditation. All right.
I have more of a comment than a question, but it could I could turn it into a question. I I have a hard time with noises during meditation. And even like I could hear, I'm not in my regular space. And so I heard somebody grab their car keys and leash the dog. And then I heard, you're coughing. And then I heard like a car. And I was just like, I still managed to stay calm. But how do you, it's like the no, how do I do it even through noises? Because I realize I'm not going to always be in the opportunity type place. How do I still manage my peace, like with the noise, or be in meditation with noise around?
You're raising a really important and valuable for our practice inquiry. And it is an inquiry. One of the times that I really noticed this is, I don't know if some of you are probably from around the Dharmadrimini area. There was an alms round in Sebastopol, and so there was one day that we were in Sebastopol and then waiting afterwards, and so we just sat to meditate in the park. And this park, there's basically the street just goes right around the park, and it's a fairly active street. And I thought, there's no way that I'm going to be able to meditate sitting here with, and the trucks pulling into the grocery store to deliver, and the clink, clink, clink. And wow, suddenly I learned about just leaning on the sound. And so rather than like having a story about the sound, I've suddenly found this piece of I felt like the sound was holding me up, and this kind of change in perspective where the Buddha says in the hearing, just the hearing. So basically, in the sound, just the sound. And so it's not car keys and leashing and all of this. We know that, of course, we know that. But it's like not going into the story of, for me, the trucks and the unloading and the people and the music and all of that. It was just leaning in their sound. So that's one way to do it when you're not in an optimal environment. When you, and the Buddha does praise, go to the root of a tree, go to an empty hut, and for good reason, because it takes practice and it helps train ourselves in those silent places. But when we're in the silent places, I've got another source of sound, that internal thoughts that keep coming up. It's like I have a verbal mind in many ways. And I started just wondering, what if I just lean into that too? And just allow it to be this wave of wah, 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 going through my head. So those are, oops, see, all right. So sound comes in. And we can attend to it when we need to, because sometimes sound is really important. Sometimes it's warning us. Sometimes it's telling us something really important. But we can come from our meditation and attend to it, rather than being disturbed by it. So the practice is around attending to the sensations of disturbance and seeing if that part we can put down. I'm curious if that sparks any further investigation for you.
Thank you. Yes. It's something to not think about, but kind of like observe. Yeah, that I can observe while I practice daily.
Yeah, well put. Others on this topic, or other meditation topics? Marilyn.
Sorry, I couldn't find my hand down there. Well, sort of two different comments. I remember once I was at a retreat, and the meditation part of the retreat had stopped, and I hadn't been aware that the bell had gone. So I was still meditating, and someone came and put their hand on my shoulder, and I jumped. And they said, "Oh, I'm so sorry to startle you." And I remember saying, "Oh, no, that's okay. That was just my body."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a beautiful comment. Yeah, it's okay. It's just my body.
And I don't have a great deal of difficulty creating a silence, like not aware of the sounds outside. I'm kind of attune myself to a gong or something to bring my awareness back when the meditation has stopped. We haven't met, but I have the privilege of living in Canmore, and got to go to our monastery with Ayya Himsa a few times, several times a week. But a while ago, there was construction being done 2 doors down from the monastery, and Sangamita had said, "Oh, I hope you can all meditate with this noise and distraction that's going on." And it was a really hot day, so the door was a little ajar. And after the meditation, people were saying, "Oh, that was terrible. There was so much noise. I just couldn't sit here." And someone said, "Well, I just looked around the room for an hour. Like, I just couldn't bear it." And I was kind of like, "Well, what noise?" So a lot of time, most of the time, I can come into that quietness and stillness and not be distracted. But if I do hear things, I always just dismiss it, like, "Oh, that's just a sound or a car," or I don't go into it. I don't pay a lot of attention to it. I just have an awareness that I may have heard something and labeled it and let it go.
Yeah. And what you're talking about is, as our practice deepens, we are able to pull the sense gates essentially in to some extent. And like the Buddha would say, when you sit down to meditate, to the monastics, he would say, just like there's all of the rest of the world just goes away. If and set your mind that I will come out of meditation at this time, or if a Sangha act needs to be done, then it's like tune your mind to hearing when somebody comes and says, we need you for this Sangha action. And so this was the way that the monastics trained. And literally, there were monks who, somebody thought they were dead, and so they tried to burn the body. And monk, no clue, luckily it wasn't burnt, able to just come out of that just fine. But this is a process as practice deepens. And so we do try to find the secluded places and practice in that. And then when we find instead the great opportunity of construction, we can practice with that. Ayya Suvijana talks about a particular incident where she just started her retreat, and the milling crew came, and they were going to spend the next amount of her retreat time milling next to the kuti, pretty much. And how you have to go through the whole practice of letting go of the stories before you can let go of the sound. So wonderful. It's very good for practice.
I just wanted to say that another little thing is that I have a really hard time with guided meditations, because I want to slip into my practice, and it's like, how do you meditate when someone's giving instructions or
Ignore them.
talking to you? I find that really difficult.
Yeah, and so that might be your practice edge of like, oh, I can ignore the construction down the street, but a human voice? It's harder. And so, yeah, again, it's pulling back from the sense contact, only hearing that there is sound. And so, yes, whenever you're in a guided meditation space, unless you're actively there to learn a particular meditation style, simply let it go by. And I would say in this kind of environment, you might even just turn your volume down so that you can be in the group.
Yeah,
But
I just have to take out my hearing aids.
yeah,
I'll do it.
perfect. Yeah. Not all of us have that luxury.
Thank you.
Flow.
Yeah, I was thinking about like meditating while sick, and I feel like when I'm like really sick, it's like the only thing I can be aware of. Just like lay in bed and I'm just like, I am aware of this bodily suffering. Um, but I feel like there's like this very large area of like discomfort, but that is not so discomforting that I can't ignore it on some level. And it feels like that range of discomfort is the kind of discomfort that I feel like pushes me away from meditation. Like it feels harder if I have like a minor tummy ache versus like an
Yeah.
overwhelming tummy ache.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is very rich because you start to notice what are the things that throw you off and what are the things that you can be with, and it will change over time. But yeah, I sometimes find that little itches are just so much more of a problem than a huge backache.
Mm.
I've actually had like real happiness in meditation with a backache because it's like so intense that it's like, oh, there's this burning, pinching, stabbing. It's like if I start to be with all of the nuances of it, it actually is pretty exciting to see the impermanent change. No, Vedana, the feeling tone of it is painful, dukkha. And actually, like in the midst of it, the versus the, you know, you start to get the language of pain. And you start to see that it's so changeable, and it's like this whole thing that's going on without the story. It's just these sensations. And it can actually be, I have had multiple times, but the first time it happened was just shocking. Like, wow, this intense back pain, and then this wave of piti, joy, happiness. It's like the feeling tone was actually pleasant, and it wasn't the pleasant of feeling pain. It's not something kind of twisted or messed up there. It's like, no, there is pain, but the quality of my intention is so pleasant. And so I started to rest in the quality of the attention versus on the physicality of the pain. But the little things, the tummy, because when the tummy ache is small, it's almost like you feel like you should be able to do something about it.
Mhm.
And so instead, it's like, can I just be with our heartburn? The just the little bits.
Mm.
It's not excruciating. It's just annoying, or and start to explore, where am I in the sensation in my belly or in my esophagus, and where else am I tensing? So when I have a tummy ache, my jaw tightens. What does my jaw have to do with a belly ache?
Mm.
And that's second arrow dukkha. And so it's actually a really rich ground for meditation and contemplation practices.
Mm. Thank you.
And then Amber.
Hi, everybody. So the weather's like getting all nice right now, and the last time the weather was nice, I went in person and I went to the Pengrove monastery and meditated with you lovely ladies. And it was outside and it was beautiful. And a few times about like after, the intro and then about 10 minutes into the meditation, we'd have like some industrial like yard noise. It'd be like sawing, or there'd be like a weed eater or something. But it was just that like perfect industrial noise, and that can be like very difficult and kind of jarring, that construction noise. And it was a little bit lighter, but it was still that type of grinding noise it can be very challenging. So I tried to kind of set it on the back burner, and I didn't practice like I could have maybe switched it to a certain type of practice. Like I was trying to focus on a certain type of thing or a certain lesson. Instead, I was just trying to see if I could let it fall back in the back burner. And it kind of didn't. It was kind of difficult, and it was hard for me to kind of get away from it. So I kind of had to like step into it. It was like I couldn't get away from it. So it was very distracting. So I started like opening my eyes a little bit. Like I couldn't just, it was hard to focus. So I started opening my eyes, and we were outside, and it was very beautiful. There's squirrels and there's little bugs, and it was just sunny, and it was very beautiful. So, but I had to do it. Like what ended up happening is I leaned into the hard noise, but then I also leaned into the other senses. I couldn't just let it fall. So then I was leaning into like the sunshine and the animals, and I kind of had ended up doing like a seeing meditation too, where I was doing sight too. And so I was taking in the senses like kind of more so. So I kind of just embraced all the senses, since I couldn't like focus on a different type of lesson or something. And it kind of got me to like appreciate. So it was like I was embracing all the senses more heightened, all of them, the lovely and the everything. So I was like able to see kind of all the layers of life, all the senses, the hard, the difficult, the pleasant. And it kind of gave me like an appreciation. So like since the construction noise is so jarring and just kind of grating, I really was able to appreciate, like I saw all the levels. There's the dirt and the bugs and the sunshine, and then there's this like and so I appreciated like the other senses, the lovely and the squirrels running around and stuff. So it gave me kind of a gratitude.
Right, right. So you're bringing up a wholesome quality of the gratitude,
Yeah.
and this is actually a very valuable meditation to like go to the different sense gates and
Yeah.
realize that when you're focusing on a visual, the the impact at the auditory lessens. When you're focused on the warmth of the sun, the tactile, the visual might lessen in its. So you notice that you actually are in the different senses
Mm.
throughout it, and then
And you could switch them up.
right, right, but and not to do it as a like identifying thing, but like I'm
Yeah.
working with the sense of sight, the sense of sound, the sense of, so you don't need to name squirrel. You can just see.
Well,
And
and everything can be like touch, like the sound is touching my ears, the
yes,
the sight, the light is touching my eyes, so like touching everything. With the
yes,
senses, everything could be touching. So sometimes I'll do that. Oh, the sound touching my ears, and then I'll switch to something else.
right. So sense contact being
Yeah.
one. And then the last thing I'd say is I noticed you using languaging of the heavy machinery was grinding on me, kind of, and it's like, or it was irritating. It's like, actually, you're doing irritation
Oh, yeah.
when this sound is present. And when we start to take responsibility for, oh, I'm doing irritation, then
Right.
we can soften around that or practice softening
Right. Right.
and not being
Absolutely.
judgment about, oh, I'm not able to let this one go. It's like, oh, okay, So I'm doing not being able to let this one go. Okay,
Oh yeah.
that's
Oh
what's
yeah.
up.
That's what's happening.
So wonderful. Okay,
Thank
and
you.
Susan, you're the last one, please.
Thank you. I uh um I just wanted to share so I'll remember this and maybe get some feedback. Um for some reason when I started the meditation, it came to me and I don't do entertainment, the world type stuff, but and I never have been into TV or movies. There was a movie that came to my mind in there, and it was there was a movie called Yes Man, and I was thinking, what is I don't even remember, and then I thought, well, I think he was a no man at first, like he would say no to everything, and then he became a yes man. And I was kind of laughing. I was really seeing this as my own aversion and my own, is the no man and like saying no to everything, like don't like. And I could feel it in my body, like,
Mhm.
and how much I've been feeding it. I'm really feeling it. I was on a trip and I didn't realize. I thought, I don't know. I just thought my practice was strong enough to handle intense, uh, wherever I was. It was intensely like being in I don't know, like Sodom and Gomorrah. It was pretty intensive, crazy. And I was practicing and not in sense restraint, even though I was there. But I think I really had a lot of aversion and I didn't realize how much even during practice, sense restraint, not being interested, there can be this aversion, and it's like a anger, feeding anger, and I'm feeling the consequences of that. I'm kind of like detoxing my emotions now, and yeah, I feel this is probably, if I had a question, it would be, I think this is a natural consequence of that kind of activity on my nervous system.
Yeah.
And maybe, there is a consequence of like if I'm on retreat or some less intense environment, it really is more soothing. It helps a lot. But on the other hand, I can, yeah, to appreciate the reality of my body in certain areas is, like for a week of intensive of stuff is going to affect me, and but anyway, I was really aware of the aversion and realizing, oh,
That
just
that
just allowing like this, yes, saying yes. It was like
right,
really
and you can
nice.
feel
Yeah,
the difference.
yeah.
So this is a very nice and succinct way that you're putting it. Am I being a yes or a no responder here? And the yes needs to be the metaphor kind of yes. I accept. I accept. It's like this. Here it is. I'm with it. I can be here. I can fully be present. I'm open. Not, yes, I really want, because that's really a no. And so you can experiment with what's going on in your body when you're in a no mindset, whether the no is no, I don't want, or no, it's not enough. I need to possess. So both that greed and aversion aspect of it, we can feel it in our body, and as you say, it has consequences, and so it's held there. And then we come to the cushion, and it's been held there. So now your awareness is up with that. So if you start to walk through the world with kind of the yes, and I'm not saying yes in the sense of I'm going to go get involved with everything, but yes in the sense of like it's like this, and I'm showing up to what it is like this, and now I'm going to make choices based on it's like this, and maybe the choice is to go find a quieter place to be, but it's not done from aversion. It's done from this open, oh, how can I best support right now? And when you can't go to a place of silence that's externally silent, can you be with a, yes, it's noisy right now. It's like this. So
Thank you.
that's a huge part of my practice. So
Oh,
I'm
that
glad
I
that
don't
we're-
I didn't even ask that question, but thank you. That was actually what it probably was. I think what I was feeding was I don't like this world. I don't like this. Everybody's full of hindrances and it's
yeah,
ugly. It's yucky.
it's like
Yeah.
this.
But I prefer what you're saying. And it's like instead of having this, I don't like this place, that's what it is to shift what you're saying, to have metta. And yes, this is the way it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, this is our time this morning. Ayya Suvijana will be the one coming to do, I might sit in, but Ayya Suvijana is going to be leading the sutta this, what would be afternoon Pacific time. So that Dhammadrini can be doing their other program today, which we're so glad that they have that opportunity. So it was wonderful to spend this time with you. Please carry your meditation everywhere you go. That quality of open-hearted awareness. And then when you get to the formal meditation of being on the cushion, it's so much sweeter and easier. Well, take care.
Thank you.
All right, so now I'm going to figure out if I
Thank you.
recording
Thank you, Ayya.
off.
Thank you, Ayya.